Could you maybe give us high-level idea of the process that it takes from, say, someone having an idea at the university, just high level, like what should you be on the lookout for? What policies, what sort of, networks, as you mentioned? Yeah, what should they be on the lookout for in the process to going all the way?
So look, in South Africa, we've got something called the IPR Act that, has been created to assist the translation of innovation from the university by empowering the university to be a central point of management for the intellectual property. And what that enables, it enables the researcher to engage with that central point of management for advice around what to effectively do to help translate the innovation, right, towards use, towards impact. So NIPMO, the National IP Management Office, supported by the DSI, are actively engaging and supporting the creation of technology transfer offices. You can call it knowledge transfer offices, innovation management offices as well, who, and it's an investment into people again, right, to gain experience so that they can impart that experience to other researchers and innovators and whatever. And the process really starts with engagement. Years ago, I was on a Innovation Fund course where they brought the head of tech transfer for Stanford University to South Africa. And he gave us like a week-long training course, right? This is the guy that translated Google out of Stanford University, like negotiated the licenses, invested in the startup company, everything. And he really underpinned, I think he's passed away now, but he really underpinned, tech transfer and innovation management is a contact sport, right? If you're not engaging with your researcher, and if you're not sitting down with your postgraduate student and understanding what it is they're effectively doing and what impact they want to have, you're not going to succeed. And this is what the office or the function at the university really is there to do, okay, is to facilitate that. But the other thing that we do, okay, is we bring another lens to it, okay, is to figure out, okay, what is the risk involved in the commercialization? What's the technology development timelines? And we map that out with our researchers and students as well. And we try to introduce them to, others, okay? So the process tries to also figure out what funding is required, okay? What regulatory hurdles is needed. And that's the environment that we effectively work in, which is enabled by the IPR Act. You do get funders out there who, don't completely understand what it's intended to do. And then you also have, various applications or people use the Act in various ways. But we try to use it as a means of translating, right, and enabling access. So there's a couple of things, okay? Yes, we do protect intellectual property. We manage the intellectual property, but we also license it as well. We make it available to others effectively, okay, through a license. You can't license what you haven't protected, okay, and where there's no intellectual property protected. And IP also, it's like the publication system where there's peer review as well.
Yeah.
Because your examiners sitting in different countries looking at the intellectual property, they benchmark your filing effectively against everyone else who's filed for in a similar range as well. So if you have granted IP, and that's really good. And that should be, an indicator to an investor that there's something here effectively. It's independently validated, if you want to call it that. So in terms of like the system and how the system works, the other thing that we think about in the life sciences space is obviously ethics approval, right? Because you need to build a prototype, but then you also need to test it. And sometimes that involves, animal experiments. It involves, work with other human beings effectively, taking material from them, whether it be blood, urine, or whatever, biobanking. And the ethics around that is pretty important because we don't want a society and an institution where, we're not looking after, the next person in terms of like their rights. Okay?
Yes, yeah.
When it comes to animals, obviously, I mean, there's Section 20 in the Animal Act. We need to comply with that. If you're working with a GMO, you need to comply with that as well, the GMO Act regulations. If you've sourced your material from the local environment, then you have to figure out whether there's, compliance to the Biodiversity Act as well. Okay. So we're capable and we've been trained to have a look at the opportunity and with all of those lenses effectively to ensure that there's compliance. So there's a big compliance part. And then, when it comes to fundraising as well, what people don't understand is that whether you're applying for, research funding through massive institutions like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right through to NIH, or to FIND, the Foundation for Innovative and New Diagnostics, that funding comes with requirements as well on the institution receiving the funding. And we need to figure out, how do we effectively meet those, and then also report effectively and, make sure that what has been funded, if it's translation funding, is translated as well. So there's a responsibility. And that's why that point of responsibility is really important. Okay. And I think the thing that I just want to finish on is network and mentorship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a serious benefit to the ecosystem to actually have access to people who understand the process, viewed and walked through the process previously, and can impart knowledge to say, it's going to work here, not there. There's a biotech company, South African biotech company based in the States at the moment, part of an incubator that wants to collaborate with researchers at UCT, right? So while I'm engaging with the researchers to ensure that, our IP that's going to be used with a company is well defined, I'm also helping the company to say, maybe you don't really understand, X, Y, and Z, or maybe I can introduce you to a CRO, or maybe I can, because at the end of the day, the project succeeds when we enable that company as well, right? And that's the approach that we try to take effectively as well. So, I mean, it's a long answer. And the process is, but it's never easy and it's never straightforward, Adrienne. So
yes.